A father's words can carry weight, sometimes far heavier than he realizes. In Hollywood, where every statement can become a headline, those words can also reshape public perception of relationships, careers, and even family bonds. In recent months, actor Baldwin has once again found himself at the center of controversy. Not for his acting roles, but for his remarks about his daughter, Hailey Bieber. While most parents would beam with pride at the accomplishments of their children, Baldwin's comments, whether intended as praise, warning, or reflection, have repeatedly stirred conversations about the true state of his relationship with Hailey. And as she continues to build her own empire alongside husband Justin Bieber, the spotlight on this family dynamic has only grown brighter. Stephen Baldwin, the youngest of the famous Baldwin brothers, has lived much of his life in the shadows of his siblings Alec, William, and Daniel. Though he carved his own path as an actor and later as a born-again Christian activist, he is perhaps best known today as the father of Hailey Bieber. Hailey, of course, has become a global figure in her own right. Model, businesswoman, and the wife of one of the biggest pop stars of this generation. Together with Justin Bieber, she represents a new chapter of celebrity influence, marked not only by high-profile fashion campaigns, but also by the billion-dollar success of her skincare brand, Rhode. Yet for all of Hailey's independence and achievements, her father continues to make headlines, often not for his silence, but for what he chooses to say. Recently, Stephen Baldwin sat down for an interview with Tori Spelling on her podcast, Miss Spelling. What might have been a lighthearted conversation quickly turned into yet another moment where Baldwin spoke at length about his daughter. On the surface, his words appeared supportive, even admiring. He pointed to her success, calling it nearly impossible yet somehow achieved. He acknowledged the changing times, remarking that in the modern digital era, young people have been able to make enormous amounts of money, sometimes in ways that he described as sketchy. The comment, though perhaps meant as an observation, carried a tone that many found questionable. Was it admiration? Was it critique? Or was it yet another sign of the complicated distance between father and daughter? This was not the first time Stephen Baldwin spoke openly about Hailey and Justin. In fact, his track record of making public remarks about his daughter's marriage has been a recurring theme in his media appearance. Years earlier, he had shared details about the courthouse wedding of Hailey and Justin, emphasizing his protective instincts as a father. At one point, Baldwin was quoted warning his son-in-law with a half-joking, half-serious message. If anything were to happen to his daughter, the one person Justin should fear wasn't him, but Alec Baldwin, Stephen's older and more temperamental brother. The remark, while framed with humor, once again brought private family dynamics into the public eye. What complicates the situation further is Hailey's own perspective. In a revealing interview with W Magazine, Hailey admitted that she is not particularly close with her family at this stage in her life. She explained that she has built her own independence, her own sense of identity, and above all, her own family with Justin. Her words painted a picture of a young woman striving to move forward, no longer defined by her famous surname or the expectations of her family. In this light, Stephen Baldwin's continued public remarks appear even more out of sync with his daughter's desires. If she seeks independence and privacy, why does he continue to speak? The answer may lie in the complexities of fame itself. For decades, Stephen Baldwin has struggled with financial setbacks, career turbulence, and living under the shadow of his brothers. Public attention has often been one of the few currencies available to him. Speaking about his daughter, one of the most recognizable young women in the world, keeps his name circulating, whether intentionally or not. Yet what he gains in attention may come at the cost of his relationship with Hailey. Each new podcast mention, each vague comment about success or sketchy industries, adds another layer to the perception that father and daughter are not aligned, and perhaps not even close. Observers of celebrity culture know that this is not unusual. Family tensions often spill into the public sphere when fame and fortune are involved. But the Baldwin-Bieber dynamic has a particular intensity. fueled by Justin's massive global fan base and Hailey's own outspoken approach to her personal life. Fans notice when Hailey unfollows, blocks, or distances herself from those around her. Social media magnifies every subtle action, and speculation quickly turns into headlines. For many fans, Baldwin's public comments only deepen the belief that there is a rift between father and daughter. Indeed, the rift has been hinted at before. In past years, both Hailey and her father suggested that their relationship was strained. Baldwin's remarks about Hailey achieving the impossible sounded proud, yet also detached. He admitted that his daughters, Hailey and Aliyah, were married, had families of their own, and were doing relatively well, but his tone suggested distance rather than closeness. Hailey herself confirmed as much, explaining that she prioritizes her independence and that her current focus is on the family she is building with Justin. Justin Bieber, for his part, has been described by Baldwin as a sweet kid with a good heart. Baldwin has publicly stated his support for Justin, often framing him in a positive light. Yet once again, such comments tread a delicate line. For Hailey, who has repeatedly voiced her desire to step away from the constant scrutiny of being a Bieber or a Baldwin, having her father use interviews to discuss her husband may only intensify the very spotlight she wishes to dim. Critics argue that Stephen Baldwin does not fully grasp this. They suggest that his need to speak, whether from pride, insecurity, or simply habit, overrides the boundaries his daughter has clearly drawn. Each new podcast appearance feels less like fatherly affection and more like a misstep, pushing Hailey further away. The irony, of course, is that Baldwin often claims he rarely talks about his daughter. "I don't talk a lot about her," he has said in multiple interviews, even as he proceeded to do exactly that. The contradiction is hard to ignore. It raises the question, is he aware of the effect his words have, or is he trapped in a cycle where speaking publicly feels inevitable? For Hailey, the narrative is different. She is focused on her work, her marriage, and her personal well-being. Her skincare company has cemented her status not just as a model, but as a serious entrepreneur. Her presence in the fashion world has grown steadily, with campaigns, covers, and brand partnerships that showcase her influence. And yet, even at the height of her success, she faces the challenge of being defined by the family name she is trying to outgrow. For now, the world continues to watch, to listen, and to speculate. Every comment becomes a headline. Every gesture becomes evidence. The truth of their relationship may only ever be known to them. But in the theater of celebrity culture, perception is reality. And in that theater, Stephen Baldwin's words, however well-intentioned, have become part of the story his daughter never asked him to tell. If you've made it this far into the story, thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more documentaries where we uncover the untold truths behind the headlines.